Welcome to CLA 318, Study Session 3, the report writing process. Introduction. After you have looked at the topic very well, the next thing is to think through the topic. As stated earlier, approach to communicative writing is a process. Communication is a deliberate, planned, and structured human activity. It is more so in instructional writing, which must be a serious and disciplined writing. Therefore, the planning process must begin well ahead of the actual writing activity and continue until revision and editing is done and the final draft is typed or word processed. Learning outcome. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. List the steps involved in the packaging of a report. 2. Illustrate how one step leads to and links with the other. 3. Discuss false assumptions about reports and their audiences. Steps involved in the packaging of a report. You shall proceed to highlight the steps the report writer needs to take to accomplish his plan and purpose. A point must, however, be made that these are suggestions and are therefore adaptable to suit individual writing practice and habits. It is also important to stress, however, that the report writer must endeavor to go through these phases in one form or the other to accomplish his writing task. Statement of the problem and purpose of the report. The first step in the communicative writing process involves the analysis of the problem addressed in the report, as well as the purpose the report is meant to serve. The following questions must be answered. Just what is needed or demanded? Who has called for the report? Or for whom is the report meant? How will the report be used? When is the report due for submission? Statement of problem and purpose of the report. Reports, as stated earlier, are written to facilitate informed decision making or to address a particular problem. The problem to be addressed may be worsening security situation in a particular community or what to do about it. As a report writer, you need to clearly define the nature, scope, or magnitude of the problem. You will need to conceptualize it. Think through the problem involves mental effort and can take days or more before thinking through could be successful. Step 2. Know the reader or audience of the report, that is, audience analysis. Communicative report must be reader-friendly, that is, readable and useful. As a report writer, therefore, you will need to constantly adapt your report to meet the specific needs of the audience, that is, reader or group of readers. What are the characteristics of the audience that will receive this report? Age, sex, education, language competence, status, specialized training on the subject matter possessed by the audience. The expectations of the audience and other variables must be determined if the end report will satisfy them. Using this will help you to put the target audience in mind, because you must not write above or below the audience. Here are some questions that will help you to communicate effectively with the reader. Who will read or use this report? What does the reader know about the subject matter of this report? How much background do I need to give the reader, considering his position and experience? What does the reader need to know, and how can I best give him or her this information? What are the stakes or interests of the individual or group of individuals in the subject matter of this report? How is my credibility with the reader? Must I build it up gradually as I proceed, or can I assume that he or she will accept certain judgments, conclusions, or recommendations based on the interpretations? Am I trusted to do a good job? Is the reader likely to agree or disagree with my position? What tone would be the most appropriate in view of this agreement or disagreement? The last question is very important. It implies that the writer will try to see the reader's point of view. We bend every effort to look at the subject matter the way the reader will probably look at it. Doing this will take imagination and some understanding of psychology, but it is worth the considerable effort it involves. It is the gateway to true and effective communication. The issue of audience analysis can only be ignored at the peril of communicative effectiveness. Many inexperienced report writers often fail to design their reports effectively because they make several assumptions about the report writing situation. Step 3. Gathering materials. One of the tenets of report writing is that it can be grounded on verifiable data, information, or evidence. It is very important that you determine the sources of information that will be useful for gathering data. This step is crucial because reports must be made on verifiable facts. The scope of the report determines the sources of information to be used. If it is a memo, you might not need external information. 1. Primary sources. This is the first-hand, most authentic, most reliable source of information. When you have the right methodology, you are the best primary source of information. The information you gather physically on your own without any distortion or lies. You are there to observe, see, feel, and touch. You can use interviews, focus group discussions, observations, visits to sites, personal and organizational files, personal diaries, minutes of meeting, and minute directives, other forms of oral evidence, and questionnaire to gather data. 2. Secondary sources of material. Information you did not generate yourself, but from other person's thoughts or ideas to assist your research work should be classified as secondary data. Data from books, newspapers, journals, conference papers, magazines, internet, etc. You have to acknowledge the writer or owner of such works reviewed. Reports on complex issues, incidents, or problems often require thorough investigation, as well as painstaking content analysis of enormous volumes of printed materials. The material need of such reports are thus often beyond the knowledge capacity of individuals. As a report writer, you must need to consult companies, institutions, public libraries, media resource centers, or archives for books, newspapers, magazines, government publications, etc. Step 4. Sort, analyze, and interpret your data. The amount of sorting and analysis of data will depend on the scope and complexity of the report. Is it a short single issue report? A sorting and analysis of masses of printed materials and interpretation of complex data may take days, weeks, or even months. When sources of information are many, voluminous level of data can subdue a writer if he is not careful. Therefore, a good report writer has to code, sort, or group this data into sections or boundaries in order to simplify the information. Data have to be grouped according to their degrees of relatedness. Data have no meaning except they are carefully analyzed, selected, and interpreted within the context of the report. Step 5. Preparing your drafts and final copy. In line with the process approach to communicative writing, the final copy will emerge as a product of a recursive process of pre-planning, planning, drafting, redrafting, and editing. You should even endeavor to give a copy of your report to a colleague, provided it is not of utmost security. What we are simply saying is that you have to draft, redraft, write, rewrite, edit, and draft the final copy. Do not just scribble something and submit. Best writer is prone to making mistakes. Technical report writing is a serious writing. The more you review, redraft, write, and rewrite, the better your report. Interactive cooperative writing is better because two good heads are better than one. Give room for another person to criticize and edit. Any attempt to write and rewrite makes a good write-up. False assumptions about reports and their audiences. There are so many false assumptions about report writing. Let us look at a few of these assumptions. 1. It is false to assume that the audience is a group of specialists or professionals. 2. It is false to assume that a report has a finite period of use. 3. It is false to assume that the author will always be available for reference. 4. It is false to assume that the audience will be familiar with the assignment. 5. It is false to assume that the audience will have time to read the report. From the above list of assumptions, it is important to stress that a report has value only to the extent that it communicates and is found useful to the organization. A report may be read or used by someone other than the person who requested it. A report may also provoke another report or reports. Some government reports are often synthesized or distilled into government white papers, which is an average decision paper on the extended report. Furthermore, a report may be responding to a variety of needs within the organization. These needs suggest that the person who will use the report may be specialist. After all, they may not be technically knowledgeable about the subject matter of the report. In addition, the report may be useful over an extended period of time. Each written report may be filed in several offices. In a particular office where a report originated from, the report writer and his boss will not probably be available soon after to explain the report. This is because, although organizational charts or organogram may remain stable for years, personnel, assignments, and professional roles change, at times unpredictably. Thus, the report writer usually must design his or her report for a dynamic situation. Finally, the report writer must be alert to the communication booby traps in relatively static situations. The report can be tabled on the boss desk at a time when his mind is churning with other competing concerns. Even if the report is expected, it usually meets a reader who needs to act fast. In other words, the reader usually does not have all the time in this world to read through the mass of continuous discourse. He wants the useful information clearly signposted and distinct. To the reader, time is probably the most essential commodity. It is in short supply. You need therefore to design your report to be used effectively rather than read closely. Report audience. From the foregoing explanation, audiences can be classified to three broad categories according to how they will use your report. Operational characteristics. The operational characteristics include 1. Its role within the organization and consequent value system. 2. Its daily preoccupation and attitudes. 3. Its knowledge of your technical or specialized responsibilities and assignments. 4. What it will need from your report. 5. What personnel and other persons will be activated by your report through him. Objective characteristics. The objective characteristics include 1. Its education, level, fields, and years. 2. Its past professional experiences and roles. 3. Its knowledge of your technical or specialized area covered in the report. Personal characteristics. Personal characteristics that could influence its reaction to your report are age, attitudes, experience, concerns, beliefs, etc. Study session summary. There are 5 steps in the report writing process. The remaining 3 steps presented in this lecture are material gathering, sorting, analyzing, and interpreting data, and preparation of the drafts and final copy. End of study session 3. Thanks for listening.